Hello and welcome to the After Action Review video podcast. I'm Coach Latham. I'm the founder of Empowering Life Changes, my life coaching company. You can find more resources and booking information at www.empoweringlifechanges.net. For daily affirmations, follow me on all social media platforms at Coach Latham_PhD. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. All right. Hello. So this is Coach Latham_PhD from Empowering Life Changes. And we're back again on the After Action Review for a new episode for our season 2. So in this episode, what we're going to be talking about is problems versus challenges. And I kind of created this episode because this week I was really thinking about what happens to the body when we see something as a problem? And then what happens when we see something as a challenge? And then just kind of thinking about different famous people or authors or stuff that I like to engage with online. And then also thinking about my own life, right? And then how does that relate to our viewers, right? People who are engaged with our content. So typically when I get up in the morning, I have a lot of energy. Right, I'm waking up, I'm ready to go. And I'm not even really a morning person, but just the way things have been working out, I've just been getting up in the morning, right? So the affirmations I posted by 6 a.m., you can get those on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can find that at Coach Latham_PhD. And so when my alarm goes off, usually I wake up a little bit before the alarm. If I'm waking up with the alarm, it's usually right at the first bell. As soon as that first bell goes off, boom, I'm out of the bed. I've made up my side of the bed. I'm waking Prince up. Hey, let's go potty, brush my teeth, wash my face, doing my prayers and affirmations. And then I'm taking Prince for his mile walk. So that's something that we do every morning and then once again throughout the day. And sometimes he gets, a little extra walk in there. It just depends on how he's feeling. So then after that walk, got my workout, make my breakfast, and then I'm getting myself ready for work, right? So on my drive to work, I'm playing whatever music that I feel like my spirit needs for that day. And then I'm just allowing myself to be in that space, right? I'm not trying to rush myself out of it. So some days I'm playing Bon Iver, other days I'm playing Coldplay, other days it's Kanye West, the Graduation album, my favorite. Some days it's all about Hove, other days it's about Beyonce, and then other days it's just Kirk Franklin all day long. It just all depends on the mood for the day, right? But even though I have all this energy and I'm feeling good, there are these moments when it's out of nowhere. It's all the energy has been sucked away and I just don't feel like doing anything, right? So I recognize when I'm feeling depressed because at my lowest point, right? Years ago when I really went through this, I would get up, go to work because I was working from home, and then when I finished whatever I was doing, I would get back into bed. Then I would get up, do some more work, and I would get back into bed. And it felt like every day I was winding myself up to get out of the bed and get going. But what I know to be true now is that if you stay in that dark place, right? Because my solution back then was to go to sleep. So I felt like if I went to sleep, then I couldn't be sad, right? Because you cannot be sad in your sleep. It's the furthest thing from the truth, right? So I was like, dang, if I just go to sleep, I got to worry about this. But then you wake up worrying about it. Or you have dreams, night terrors, nightmares, whatever, while you're trying to run away from whatever's happening because your subconscious cannot get away from it. So what I learned is that if you stay in that dark place, it takes you forever to get out, right? And a lot of times, especially if you are a high performing person, you're still going to show up for work. You're still going to show up for family engagements, and you're going to put on this face and everything's going to be fine. And nobody's going to think that anything could be going on with you. All this stuff, right? And so that's what brings me to today's topic, which is about redirecting our problems into challenges. So every depressive episode, every period of low self-esteem, of procrastination, or those feelings of laziness, right? They all require some kind of trigger. And that trigger could be, it could be as simple as like sleeping in one morning, right? Or you skipping one workout, or you decide not to send out your typical good morning messages. Or for a lot of people, you allow this one scenario to really consume too much of your mental energy. And so when that trigger goes off, um, your body senses that this event is either going to be a problem or a challenge. And so there's actually been a significant amount of research that has been done to try and determine what happens on the inside of our bodies when we are under like a negative form of stress, right? So it's no secret. A lot of people know that, I'm a police officer. And so usually, like when somebody gets out of police work within the next 5 to 10 years of their retirement, they usually end up dying. And it's pretty high, right? You work somewhere 20 to 30 years, and then 5 years, 10 years after retirement, somebody finds you dead. And it's because you're undergoing so much stress over and over and over again that the body cannot handle that. And so what happens to us on a cellular level, right? Research has shown that when we see something as a problem internally, we begin to we have a negative process of the event, and our thoughts get dark, our moods begin to shift, our energy begins to lower, we begin to see the situation as the destination, and then often we settle into the pace of the problem. And I mean, just think about like how scary is that, that the way that we perceive or think about something has so much control about how our body responds to that, right? And so the brain, it cannot tell the difference between an imagined scenario and a true event. And so the brain sees your imagined scenario, or if it is a true event, the brain is seeing that, and then it's trying to decide, do we go into fight or flight? And so on the other side of this, the research has shown that when we see something as a challenge, we begin to light up, right? We find purpose, we find meaning, we find enthusiasm. We're looking for solutions, right? We become creative. And so the question then becomes, well, why is that, right? And it's because people love to be challenged, right? So when we get challenged and then we overcome the challenge, we have this amazing story to tell. And like, think about, some of your favorite movies, favorite people, comic shows, like music, favorite actors, actresses, artists, whatever, right? They all generally have some story of struggle and triumph that really just resonates with you. And their story is usually in alignment with the energy that you're seeking, right? And so like people love Sarah Jakes Roberts, right? Okay. And it's because she's down to earth, she's relatable, and she carries herself well, right? But it's really her story that attracts you to those traits about her, right? She overcame teen pregnancy, and she was a high school dropout, and she was a divorcee, right? And she was also a child of the church. So you have all these different layers of things, right? Different challenges in her life. And so what a powerful story to be able to tell, right? And to show the world that you can still triumph and come out on the other side, and then help other people who are going through similar situations, right? And because of those challenges, she is this mighty woman that she is today. And so what I want to do is bring this down to a more relatable level, right? So I'm going to talk to you about algebra, right? So before I understood what a problem was, right? So like talking about in terms of now, I understand what a problem is. Before I understood what a problem was, I used to get like really stressed when it came to money and time management and productivity and like meeting expectations, right? But everything that I just listed is something that as a functioning adult in society is something that we usually have to perform daily. And so when I changed my way of thinking and I began to see these things as a challenge, right? Like, okay, I want to save $1,000 this month. I want to save $3,000 this month. I want to save $5,000 this month, right? I want to have my Monday and Tuesday planned out for the first 8 hours of the day or the first 4 hours of the day. Then it got to the point where I was like, I want to have my week planned out. Now I plan out my month. Now I plan out 3 months. I can plan out for the whole year, right? I can take my money and stretch my money for the year. I can take my timing and my time management and I can plan my days out for a year and then go in and make adjustments as needed. But I had to transition from seeing these things as a problem and see them as a challenge. Because now when I meet that saving goal, I feel good. When I meet my time management goal, I feel good, right? So talking to you about algebra, right? So in high school in ninth grade, I took pre-cal. I did well. I think I made like mostly like B's and C's in that class. It wasn't too crazy. Now in 10th grade, I took algebra 2 and I could follow the steps during the class. I felt like since I did well in pre-cal, I should have did well in algebra 2. And I took great notes. I could help my friends like do their homework, do their assignments. I could do my homework. But when it was time to take the test, I would usually like miss 1 or 2 steps and that would throw off the entire problem. And so if you know anything about math, which we all do, you know that once you miss a step, it usually means that you're not going to get the rest of the equation right? So I began failing the test. And then maybe after like the third or the fourth test, like my self-esteem and my confidence began to drop. And like I could not understand how I could do this work at home, how I could help people around me get their work done. And then I was still failing these tests. I could not understand it. And as I'm talking to you about this, I'm actually remembering that in 8th grade, when I took Algebra 1, I used to have similar issues. So it actually started even before 10th grade. So in 11th grade, I started taking college algebra, and it kind of went about the same way. So several years later, now I'm in undergrad and I have to take college algebra again as a prerequisite to receive my bachelor's degree. So I know before I've told you like my professor's name, it was Chad Money. He's a great guy, good teacher, very patient. But listen, I'm telling you, I know that I failed that class. For real. I know I failed that class. I know he gave me a D out of mercy because I showed up every day. I sat in the front of the room. I went to his office hours. I came back after every test and I had him show me where I went off track. And again, the crazy thing is that I could do my homework. I could help people in the class. I could explain like the problems and right, and I could come up with these solutions. But when it was time to take the test, I was always missing one step, and that would throw off the rest of my solution. So I was like, wow, okay, this is like baffling me. Why am I failing these math tests? And so what I know to be true now is that the reason I kept making those mistakes is not because I couldn't do the math. I mean, I had proven that I could do the math. I kept messing up because I defeated myself before I even started the test. Right? I told you that this actually really began back in 8th grade. And so every time it was time for me to do anything that involved the word algebra, I immediately reverted back to 8th grade and like, oh my God, I know I'm gonna miss a step and I'm gonna mess up. So even without me thinking about that or being able to verbalize that at the time, that is what was happening to me. So in high school, I considered math to be a problem for me, right? It was a weakness for me. And I really wish that I'd never done that, because from that moment forward, I wanted to stay away from math. I didn't want anything to do with math because math detracted from my smarts. I was always the guy with the answers. I was always known as a sharp student, a high performer. And so math to me made me seem stupid. And I didn't want to do anything that made me seem stupid. But in reality, math was teaching me, and it brought up an area for improvement for me. And if I had been able to look at it that way back then I could have learned this life lesson a long time ago. And so today I don't shy away from complicated math equations, right? Like right now, I balance budgets, I write and review contracts, I handle consultations, and then most of all, I track and predict my paid time off. That's the most important thing that I believe that I do at work, is manage and predict how much vacation time I'm gonna have, because your boy likes to travel, okay? And that takes some good math. So my experience is relatable to a lot of people, because most of us have given up on something because of an experience that we had as a child, right? That left us scarred and embarrassed. But today, we are legitimately serving notice to our inner child, right? We're letting that inner child know that we see them, we acknowledge them, but we cannot stay in this place, right? Because to stay in this place means that as an adult, we're going to give up on the life that we could be living. And so some people, they've had some bad experiences, and like they might refuse to leave a broken relationship, or they don't trust that if they leave that dead end job, that the next place that they work is going to value them, or maybe they never saw their parents apologize to them when they were wrong, or their siblings, and so they don't think that kind of stuff is going to work out for them and their kids. Or maybe this person wasn't taught how to speak up or value themselves. And so a lot of times they make themselves small because they don't want to come off as offensive. And, the good thing about this meeting place, when we come here to this podcast, is that we are not meeting in our shared trauma, right? Because I refuse to let you sit and sulk in that space, because you've already given it too much energy, too much time, right? And dead things don't grow. And so in this space, I'm pulling you out, right? I'm pulling you out. I'm giving you the tools. I'm giving you the resources. I'm giving you the permission to grow, right? And so I want to help you to kind of understand some different examples of a problem, right? So like a natural disaster has occurred and my home was destroyed, or I was just diagnosed with a terminal illness, or it could be like I had a bad accident and I lost a limb, right? Now, those are problems. Those are some negative things that we got to work through. So a challenge, on the other hand, is I'm rebuilding my life after a natural disaster. I have stage 1 cancer and I'm beginning treatment. I started physical therapy to learn to walk again. I want to get ready for a marathon. So, like, listen to the way that those sentences are being presented, right? Like, I'm rebuilding my life after a natural disaster, right? The natural disaster has not stopped me, right? I'm just rebuilding my life. And I want to get ready for a marathon. So I started physical therapy to learn how to walk again. When people experience a problem and they become consumed by it, they become powerless. They stop believing in possibility, right? And they start turning on people and they become bitter. And like we've all seen it time and time again, especially like if you've ever been in the workforce. When someone is dead set and solely focused on the problem, like they lack any desire to see any other outcome. Like they have to see it fail. It has to fail because we have this problem. So it just has to fail. And personally, like I hate being around people who only see and focus on the problems, because I'm the kind of person that I enjoy a good challenge, right? And when I was younger, I wanted a challenge that was hard enough to make me work, but it was still doable. Like I didn't want a challenge that had a high probability of failure. Again, this is me in my youth, right? So this is going back to doing like those higher levels of math, right? I could get through the first half of the textbook, but then once we transitioned over to the second half of the textbook, it's like, I don't know. It's just, let me kind of back up off this. But what I've learned is that math and different things that happen in my life, that is not the problem, right? It's the way that I think about it. It's how I choose to either expand or contract my beliefs around whatever it is that I'm going through or that I'm looking at, and that I have to support myself first, right? There was a point in time where I was looking for other people to support me first, but I really have to support myself first because it's my vision, it's my goal, it's my dream. I'm the first person that saw it for me. And so I have to be my biggest cheerleader, right? So when I first started telling people that I was going to do an Ironman, right, the people that didn't know me well, they questioned if I believed that I could do it. Now, I always honestly believed that I could do it, right? Whether I was tired, dogged, grim, beat down, limping, like I always believed that I could do it, right? Even during all the crazy training, I just kept telling myself, I'm going to be an Ironman. So now during the event, I told you that when I was going down River Road late at night during the marathon, I had that dark moment. And that moment, I began seeing the Ironman as a problem. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So as I started to see like the marathon portion as a problem, the marathon began to get harder and harder, right? Now, after meeting John, and then having him remind me that this event was a challenge, right? Taking what little bit of positivity that he had left to share with me, we started building on that, right? And I told you, like, when you start to see something as a challenge, it's like the energy within you starts to change, right? And so our energy level started to go up. And as him and I are doing like this little shuffle together, like literally you can feel the energy going up. And that's how our little group of two, we actually ended up having 5 people in our group at one point in time because our energy was going up, right? Everybody around us is sucking. There's still some people that are like moving and doing their thing, but for the most part, people are sucking. And so when they see us laughing and talking and praying, and I mean, we're getting busy to the best of our abilities, people want to be around that, right? And so our energy is going up, energy going up, energy going up. And so they're starting to gravitate to us. And so from there, I started to have my objective mindset, right? I came out of myself, started having my objective mindset. And I'm like, okay, listen, this is not that bad. I got 10 miles left. I just got to get through this 10 miles and then I'm done. I'm an Ironman, right? And I had to start re-visualizing myself crossing the finish line. Before the event, I used to go down to where the race was going to be held at and envision myself coming down the finish chute, crossing the finish line, arms in the air, hearing them say, Demetrius, you are an Ironman, right? So I had to go to that place in my mind. And so just like with math, I was visualizing myself failing those tests before I was finished. And I mean, like self-fulfilling. I started failing the test. But when I began training for the Ironman, when I joined the police department, when I started college, like when I was competing in karate tournaments, anytime I have speaking engagements, when I started life coaching, right, I've always visualized myself as a successful person. Why? Because you have to see it first in order for it to become a reality, right? As a man thinketh, so he becomes. Like, legitimately, you have to see it in order for you to reach it. And so I share these stories with you because, like, I want you to be able to learn faster. I want you to see things quicker. I want you to see that everything that has come into my life and the things that held me back and the things that moved me forward, I want you to see that it was all for my highest good. The important thing is that I was not afraid to pivot, right? I always saw myself as being a success. I was not afraid to fail, right? And even when I had those down days, I spoke words of encouragement to myself or I sought people that could speak words of encouragement to me, right? I was never afraid to believe that it was possible, right? You can never be afraid to believe that it's possible, because anything that you set after, it is possible. You have to be willing to grind, to hustle, to do whatever it takes for you to legitimately reach that dream, right? And when the doors kept closing around me, right, and the lights are closing around me, and in my head I'm seeing like this little timid boy, or you might be seeing like this little timid girl, and they're just wandering around by themselves, right? And just lonely, like you have to reach into the depths of your mind. Follow me, and you have to snatch yourself out of there. You got to snatch that inner child out and replace that timid little child with a proficient, smart, and adaptable adult. I had to do that, and you have to do the same, because if you continue to perceive things in your life as a problem, then you are weakening your body, right? You have to see the things that are happening in your life as a challenge, right? Because this is going to jumpstart your creativity. It's going to get your body back into alignment. And so I have 7 tips here for transforming your life. The first one is that you have to begin with the end in mind. This goes back to visualizing. You have to think about the intended result, and that will help guide your actions. The second thing, your habits have to be in alignment with the outcome that you're looking for. You cannot want to become wealthy and still be wasteful, right? You cannot want to be the best in your field, but you're not making time to study. You're not making time to rehearse. You're not making time to define and refine your craft, right? Number 3, you have to go through the process of trial and error. You can't skip over that, okay? This process is what helps to expand your creativity. It's there to expand your knowledge base. It's there to harden your resolve and test your conviction. Number 4, you have to grind on the days you don't feel like it, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Listen, it's easy to be disciplined when you feel good. It's easy to be disciplined when you feel motivated. It's easy to be ambitious when you feel good. But when you are having those down days, when the grindstone is like worn down and you just don't feel it, those are the days that you have to get the hell up and you have to go after it. The next thing, number 5, is you have to stop referring to yourself with negative words. Quit calling yourself a procrastinator. Quit calling yourself lazy. Quit calling yourself weak. Quit saying I'm easily angered and annoyed. Success is available to you, but you have to be ready to wow yourself, right? You have to be in a state of expecting. You got to be expecting this transformation to be amazing. And you have to release this sense of disbelief and allow all of these great and exceptional things to flow into your life. Number 6, you are in charge of the pace of your life. This could be the most important. You are in charge of the pace. Focus on your mindset, and then that will help you to whip everything else into shape, right? And in this point, you are striving for progress, not perfection. Number 7, have a valued goal. When you have a goal that you value and it is attached to your life, you feel better. As you continue to see the change occurring in your life that you're looking for, the change that you know is getting you closer to the goal, you feel better. You're doing better. You want better. You're seeking better. So I hope that this episode today has helped you to understand something. I hope that it's helped you to be validated and to see that, like, you're not alone in your way of thinking, right? I hope that you see that you have control to change the direction and the pace of your life. I told you that January is about balancing our mind. And today's episode really focused on the way that how we think and how we feel, that's the energy that we broadcast into our life. And until we change the energy that we are circulating in our life, we do not change. So that's the end of today's episode, where we covered what a problem is, what a challenge is, and we went over 7 tips to help us start transforming our lives. So, as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Make sure you're taking care of yourself as we continue to flow into the new year. Always follow, like, share, subscribe. You can always find me on social media at Coach Latham _PhD. You can also book your life coaching sessions from there, or you can go to www.empoweringlifechanges.net and you can follow to the website and you can book your life coaching services there and also get additional tips and resources. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again, speaking with you, and continuing our discussions. Thank you.